Hey everyone! The fall of 2023 is an incredibly busy time for the video game industry. We have the launch of Starfield, a new 2D Mario game, PlayStation Portal, and, most significantly, perhaps a SAG-AFTRA video game strike. If you didn't know, the Screen Actors Guild and the American Federation of Television and Radio Artists, otherwise known as SAG-AFTRA, have been in contract negotiations with Hollywood since June of 2023. Since no agreement has been met, the workers have launched a strike, essentially halting Hollywood and movie and TV productions across the country. It is now September and an agreement still hasn't been made. On September 2nd, SAG-AFTRA voted unanimously to extend their strike into the video game industry. While the union did approve the strike, that doesn't mean that it will actually happen though. Voting for members of the union will take place from September 5th to September 25th, 2023 to see if the workers want to move forward with a strike. If they vote yes, then union workers will have a huge bargaining chip added to their arsenal when negotiations resume. At the end of the month, SAG-AFTRA meets with AMPTP, the trade association that represents media giants like Disney, Netflix, and Warner Brothers. If an agreement isn't met at that point, then we could be headed for a strike in the video game industry by the end of the year. This is a pretty big deal and could drastically affect the video game industry as we know it. Today, I just kind of want to talk about what this strike is and how it could affect us, the consumers, and the gaming industry as a whole. If you enjoyed the video, please feel free to leave a like and subscribe. Anyway, let's dive into this. So, SAG-AFTRA has authorized a strike for the gaming industry, but how did we even get here? What exactly are the workers striking? Well, since there is a lot of crossover between the video game industry and Hollywood, the issues SAG-AFTRA were fighting for naturally fit the gaming sphere as well. Workers are looking for an 11% increase in wages and a 4% increase each year to match inflation. It's actually an exact match of what the Hollywood strikers are asking for. Protesters have claimed that the increase in wages some workers have received don't really equate to much, mentioning that workers would actually be making less money in 2025 than they were in 2020 due to inflation. It's an especially tough pill to swallow considering the video game industry is performing fantastically and is estimated to make over $245 billion in 2023 alone. Besides better wages, workers are also looking for protections against AI. With the massive growth of artificial intelligence the past few years, developers, writers, and actors' livelihoods could be challenged by the convenience of AI. I think that this is a real threat to these workers. It seems like AI is especially effective when it comes to voice and performance editing. I've already made a video about how AI can be beneficial for video game development, but if used solely for money over quality, then artificial intelligence could definitely do more harm than good for the industry. If this strike moves forward, almost all aspects of video game development will be affected. After all, the WGA, or Writers Guild of America, is also on strike at the moment. So, worst case scenario, development teams wouldn't be able to move forward with projects that have members of the WGA and SAG-AFTRA. This means no writing, no editing, mocap, voice acting, and who knows how much more. I tried looking into what SAG-AFTRA actors are currently working in video games, but unfortunately, I couldn't really find anything too specific. If you know a video game performer who is in SAG-AFTRA and could possibly strike, let us know in the comments. I also tried looking into whether or not the devs themselves would be included in this strike, but as far as I can tell, it would just be for performers. Maybe they'll stand in solidarity, or maybe they'll just continue working on the parts that they can work on. This is a pretty complicated mess. Despite not knowing what actors are unionized, I think we can give a good guess at what big titles could potentially be affected by a strike. As of right now, we know that SAG-AFTRA is looking to negotiate with the industry's biggest hitters, including Take-Two, EA, Activision, Warner Brothers, Epic Games, Insomniac, and a few others. That list could also expand if an agreement isn't made. So looking at this list, there are a few games that we know are currently in production that could definitely be slowed down or halted completely if a strike happens. For one, any Call of Duty titles that are being worked on in the future will almost certainly be affected. This means whatever COD 2024 will be, and maybe even 2023's Modern Warfare 3, specifically future DLC, since I'm not entirely confident that those productions would have finished by now. Another major game that could be affected is Insomniac's Wolverine title. Right now, we don't really know what that game will be about or what performers are in it, but they're definitely in the midst of working on it right now, so this game could be hit really hard by a strike. I don't think that Spider-Man 2 will be affected by this at all because that releases in about a month, so I'm sure they have most, if not all, of the dialogue and mocap they need by now. That being said, if Insomniac is looking to do DLC like they did for Spider-Man PS4, they could be in a bit of trouble. Maybe they're trying to get ahead of a possible strike and get as much recording done now as they can, but if they're not, then DLC will almost certainly be delayed. Last one I wanted to talk about, and probably the most significant one, is Take-Two. This is the parent company of Rockstar, who is obviously in production right now on Grand Theft Auto 6. If you've ever played a GTA game, you know that there is an incredible amount of dialogue in those games, and a lot of motion capture as well. Everything from the main characters to random NPCs to in-game radio hosts, performers are utilized a ton in Rockstar games. If a strike happens, GTA 6 could be delayed indefinitely and set back who knows how far. Essentially, any game right now that is still in production is in danger of being affected by the strike. That includes live service games or games that may be actively working on DLC. If you can't have your actors get into the studio, then you can't really finish production, which is going to amount to a lot of delays, maybe even worse than the delays caused by COVID. When the COVID delays happened, most studios could keep on working, albeit from home. If a strike happens, they just flat out won't have access to some major components in their production. That's why this strike authorization is such a big deal. We may not notice it immediately, but in a few months, we could potentially be in an entire entertainment shutdown. No new TV, no new movies, and no new video games. If an agreement is met, then maybe that drought won't last a long time, but if not, well, we could have a pretty empty 2024 and 2025. Another critical thing I wanted to mention that isn't really a part of video game production, but I still believe is pretty important to us as consumers, is the prohibition of promotion and publicity for works under a strike. This means that performers can't appear at premieres or do interviews about the game or even attend stuff like Comic-Con. The most significant hit, in my mind, is the inability for these performers to attend award shows, specifically the Game Awards in December. This one hurts. The Game Awards, to me, is a celebration of the video game industry. We get to reflect on all of the incredible games that came out that year and hear from developers and actors who made those games so special. On top of that, we have amazing performances and speeches from video game icons and, of course, brand new premieres and trailers for upcoming games. I mean, some of the best gaming announcements happen at the Game Awards. In years past, we've gotten the Xbox Series X reveal, Mortal Kombat 11 premiere, the first look for the Sonic 2 movie, and just a ton of release dates for upcoming games. This event is huge and growing every year. At this point, I'd say it's a staple of the gaming industry. If this strike goes live and cast members of both video games and movies and TV shows can't attend the Game Awards, then there's gonna be a dark cloud hanging over the event. I mean, can you picture the Game Awards without Christopher Judge?
Read it, boy.
These performers deserve their time in the spotlight. I'm not sure how Jeff Keighley would work around a strike or if he would even want to. Worst case scenario, the Game Awards could be either postponed or canceled entirely for the year. Yeah, I guess any trailers or announcements could just roll out in the following weeks, but it just won't have that same wow factor that a world premiere would have at the Game Awards, where tens of thousands of fans are watching it unfold live, together. Needless to say, this strike will have a massive reach on the gaming community. Man, okay, this is a lot to digest. All of this seems pretty bleak, but I wanted to point out that this actually isn't the first time that a strike has happened in the gaming industry. In the fall of 2016, SAG-AFTRA launched a strike to protest unfair wages, lack of transparency in job descriptions, and overworked actors that had few safety precautions, including unnecessary vocal stress for certain roles. The strike had some big names behind it, including voice acting legends Jennifer Hale, Ashley Birch, and David Hayter. Despite that, the strike didn't appear to have much of an impact. Unfortunately for video game performers, their occupation is only a small segment of the industry as a whole. While they protested what they believed to be unfair conditions, developers and studios kept working on what they could to keep production moving. Unlike movies or TV shows, video game production can go a long time before they start to feel the pinch of an actor's strike. And even then, not all games were held back by the strike. For example, the game Before the Storm, a prequel to the hit Life is Strange, was meant to have Ashley Birch reprise her role as Chloe Price, but was instead replaced due to her commitment to the actors' strike. This was kind of a big deal because this was the first time the gaming industry ever had a strike, and to see some actors being replaced so easily caused quite a bit of disappointment among the workers. Even though a few were replaced though, other studios were a bit more hesitant to move on from the voice actors that gave their characters life. In the fall of 2017, SAG-AFTRA and gaming corporations came to an agreement. Not all of the original requests were met for the protesters, but steps forward were made, including an increase in wages and more transparency in job descriptions, like gameplay genre and whether the work will include profanity or violence or sexual overtures or physical stunts. Really, those things should have been already provided in my mind. That's just kind of insane to me that they had a protest for stuff like that, but I digress. So it seems as if we are on the brink of another strike within the video game industry. Only now, the gaming industry has grown massively and I would argue is one of the pillars of modern entertainment, even giving other media heavyweights like film and TV shows a run for their money. Since the video game industry produces so much money these days, maybe we can be optimistic and hope that companies will communicate with workers better this time around and avoid a strike. If not, well, the last video game strike was the longest strike in the Screen Actors Guild history, lasting 340 days. If it were to go on that long again, we would have a major disruption in the industry. Everything from E3 and the Game Awards to Grand Theft Auto 6 and Wolverine would be affected. Who knows how many other games could take a hit? This is a lot of negative stuff to dwell on, but I think it's important that we discuss it. Hopefully an agreement will be made soon and we can avoid a strike entirely. If not, expect to hear a lot more news about this stuff in the coming weeks. I want to hear from you guys. What do you think of this strike? Could you see Jeff Keighley canceling the Game Awards if actors can't be present? What other effects do you think a strike could have on the industry? Let me know down below in the comments. I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, please feel free to leave a like and subscribe. It means a lot. Thanks for watching. I appreciate you guys as always, and I will catch you on the next one.